Hello beautiful people, my name's Lara Renee. Thank you for tuning into Tarot for today. It is the start of the week for this particular reading. Maybe when you're tuning in it is not, and that's okay. This is a timeless reading. I use the tarot to tune into the energy so you can decide if you relate or resonate to what's being brought up. If not, then maybe the next reading will be for you. Otherwise, you can jump ahead to the oracle section of the video and hear the message, because there's always guidance there that may not be directly aimed at the problem that's arisen for the purpose of the reading, but it's a message that speaks to your heart and will apply to your personal situation. I'm an artist and coach, so I do bring in other modalities into the reading, and if you ever need support or help, you are most welcome to reach out and contact me, and we can just have an obligation-free discussion about where you're at, what you need, and whether I can help you or whether I can refer you on to someone else who can, because I have a beautiful long list of wonderful creators who specialise in their particular niche, and they may be able to help you as well. So I'm just randomly shuffling, so I'm seeing the cards with you. Here we are again with the Three of Pentacles. Now I've had this card come out a few times. The Three of Pentacles is usually around teamwork. We're looking at working together, working as a team, working collaboratively. We're looking at having the right people in our system of support. Now, I feel like you want to be creating something specific, or there's something in your life that you really wanted to achieve or accomplish, and it almost feels like you know at the heart of heart that deep down the current situation is not really supportive, and that you're looking for an expansion. And this actually is about you evaluating the current situation and who's in that situation with you, and not looking to blame, but you're looking to see how the end result that you're after is being accomplished or being hindered. Everybody has a set of skills, everybody has a way of thinking, and what you're trying to balance is, does that person have the right mindset, and is the skills that they're showing up with actually contributing to accomplishing your goals, or taking you away or distracting you from it. So that's something to think about. And we've got the three characters in here. We've got the priest, we've got the magician, I'm going to call it, and then we've got the worker. You know, so spiritually, this is the vision. The spiritual aspect is the vision. The business owner is the vision. It's the one who holds the anchor into the result of what that business serves. You've got the manager, the one who coordinates the internal workings of the company, ensuring that targets are met, ensuring that employees are in alignment to the vision, and is pretty much the bridge between, you know, the business owner and the front line. Then you've got production hands. So you've got the people that are in the front line. They're the ones that are actually doing the work. They're the ones that are utilising their particular skill set inside the framework of the vision of the company and what the company serves. Now, this applies to families as well. You know, it might be the mother, the father, and the child, or children. But there's the head of the family, and then you've got the children. And underpinning, whether it's a business or whether it's a team, or whether it's your family, or whether it's a relationship, underpinning all of that is values. The value set. You know, you're working for a company not just because of the money, you're working because of the values, you're working because of what it is that they do, you're doing it because you have the skill set, but at the same time, you're also doing it because, well, you should be doing it because they stand for what you stand for. And if you're feeling some kind of incongruency or cognitive dissonance there, or a gap between what you think and what you feel and what you do, you need to recognize that maybe there's a misalignment with the value set, with your personal values versus what you're giving your energy towards. Now, this is a general reading, so it does apply to a range of different scenarios because I'm talking to a range of different people in different scenarios. So make it apply to your situation, but the principles still apply regardless. There's the value set that's underpinning. We can be very caught up in our own role to the point that we're not seeing how it knocks on to the rest of the situation, right? Everything happens in a sequence. It might be that the boss or the head of the situation has one particular way of seeing things and won't budge from that, but won't actually step into the shoes of the person that's creating the product and talking to the customer frontline and speaking on the customers and what the customers are actually saying. That's the real world feedback, and he's trying to feed that back up into the management, back up into the boss, so that there can be an internal feedback loop that is productive. You know, if there's stubbornness going on, it's looking at the stubbornness and going, okay, how can we loosen up around that? How can we realign so that all the values are filtering down to every level of consciousness, every level of management, every role that's playing out that contributes to the whole? Does that make sense for everybody? You know, the character here is working away and sort of looking back to these two people that are making, you know, decisions. They're kind of, you know, looking at the bigger picture, the plan, and he's over here going, well, that doesn't work, or in practical sense, you know, we need to make adjustments or changes because it's not actually working the way that you thought it was. One of the sayings that my coach says is, the map is not the territory, and that is what's coming to mind. You know, basically it's saying that we can look at a map of the terrain. You know, like think about the shopping centre. We can look at a map of the shopping centre that's laid out. We know where we are, and we are trying to navigate our way to a particular destination, like a particular shop. Maybe we want to get to Woolworths or whatever supermarket you guys use in your country, but you parked on the other side of the building and you have to navigate your way. So you would find a map, and what they do is they create a graphically designed layout of the building, so it's simple, in simple terms, for your mind to memorize the directions. Turn left here, go up here, turn to the right, whatever. It's very straight lined. However, when you start to navigate towards that destination, you're looking at landmarks, you're looking at different shops. You might get distracted by what's in the shops. You might take a little detour, and then you've got to get back on track. Or you have to re-establish the navigation from where you were. And I'm just sharing this with you because the map wasn't actually the layout of, like, wasn't the actual terrain. It didn't specify every single shop. It didn't show all the details. It just gave you the bare bones, the basics of it. But, you know, if you're out in the mountains and the wilderness, you can't see on a 2D plane the height of the mountain. You can't see that there's actual effort required to ascend or move or navigate the path. And that's the difference. You know, these guys here are using the map, and this guy here is putting the map into action and letting them know what's actually practical, what's working, what's not working. I'm going to pull another card at random. We've got the Tower. So if you're resonating with this energy, you know, like this, the Tower that's coming through is saying it needs to break down. Whatever's going on for you now, like it just feels like everyone's butting heads, nobody's making progress, everybody's got their stick in the mud and saying my way is the right way. The front line, or the child, or the, you know, the person who is in the feminine role is sitting there going, you know, that's not working. And then you've got the upper levels, or the management, or the, you know, the masculine roles going, no, that's not working, you need to do it this way. And there's no progression. The Tower showing up in this reading is saying that it's got to break down. Something outside of your control environmentally is going to impact the way that you come together. And this is why it's important to get back to your values and to get back into the purpose of what it is that you're doing in the first place. Because we can get so magnified and zoomed in into our little journey, into our role, that we forget about the big picture. And it can be very much a jolt to the system. But we're looking here at the deconstruction of the ivory tower, where it's been built up into such a way, and then the foundation of it, you know, like this is a lightning strike from the heavens, from the sky. That it wasn't something that humans created. It was just a weather occurrence, you know, and it's thrown people out of the building. So there needs to be, well, just be aware that there's going to be some big impact from circumstances outside of your control, and it's how you respond appropriately when that happens. And then we've got the Page of Swords showing up. You know, don't be brash about the situation. Don't rush into things. You know, the Page is generally someone that is young, agile, possibly teenager to young adult. So has an awareness, isn't completely locked into old ways of thinking, but can be a little bit reckless or impulsive because they don't have the life experience. And there's absolutely no judgment in that. There's power in that. Sometimes we need just to throw ourselves all in order to get results, or in order to get the feedback so that we can make the adjustment as needed. Other times we need to be a little bit more conscientious about it. Again, I'm pulling you back to what was the original plan? What is the original vision? What can we let go of that allows for this? Because it's the sword, we're looking at truth. We're looking at the mind. We're looking at the mindset. And he's got the posture of pulling the sword back and possibly swinging it around. So he's got it upright. You know, and this is a defensive posture. So this is no time to be defensive or have your ego bruised because, you know, you invested so much time and money into something, and then beyond your control, you're not even getting the return on the investment of that. This is about you standing in truth. And when you need to stand in truth, you've got to let go of everything that isn't the truth. You know, this is a deconstructing energy. This is pulling away the illusions, pulling away all the falsehoods, pulling away all the stories, all the bullshit that was built. The House of Cards was built upon to get back to the raw truth of the matter. And like I said, you can be putting, you know, so much energy and effort into something, and you're giving your absolute best, and nobody's recognizing it because they are also looking at it through a completely different lens, but throwing themselves 100% into that role. This is about expanding your vision and your awareness, not just your particular space, but how it impacts the whole, how it impacts the flow that comes from you, but also the flow that's behind you. Does that make sense? You're not an isolated island in the middle of a lake where you're not being impacted. You are an island inside of a lake that's inside of another piece of land. You know, like there's layers and input output flow, and you're looking at it from the whole. You're looking at it from the bigger picture and zooming into the smaller picture and then zooming back out and making sure that it fits into the bigger picture, and you just keep doing that. I have pulled another card before we step into the oracle, and this is the Ace of Cups in reverse. It can be heartbreaking. It can be devastating to think that you gave your all to something and it didn't work out. You know, in the upright position, we're looking at the energy of new beginnings when it comes to the emotional side of things. There's that beautiful honeymoon phase where everything isn't locked down into one specific pattern or routine. You know, it's open, it's free, it's flowing. Right now it's feeling blocked because we pulled it in reverse. You see, the piece was going into the cup and now it's kind of falling out. That doesn't mean that it's the end of the world. How you respond will determine if you make a bigger mess or if you just slow down, check in, get back to your truth, get back to your value set, and just be aligned. As children, we don't hold on to anything. We just let it go. You know, it doesn't have any relevance, doesn't mean anything. We haven't, you know, built our identity on it. We haven't, you know, forced the storyline that we have to maintain a sense of image, or, you know, our expensive cars that we had to let go of because we can no longer afford that lifestyle because we've had to make changes. Children don't have that. They just let it go. That's where you want to get back to. And I think that's probably what the most damaging thing is because there's meaning behind it. There's too many things resting on what it is that you had built, and that it just takes one thing to pull the rug from underneath you, and you realize that that's not the truth of who you are. All that stuff is just stuff, you know. And then you are coming back, come back with a sense of lightness and less lockdown. You've got the wisdom, and then you will be able to navigate, you know, how it feels beyond what it is that you had anticipated. It's not the end. If you can build it once, you can build it again. Okay, I'm going to pull the spirit animal medicine cards just to give you the guidance as to, you know, what kind of spirit animal can you learn from during this process, because sometimes you just can't avoid it. You can't avoid the situation, but you've got to go through it. How you go through it determines what happens next, and whether you learn the lesson, receive the blessings, or whether you end up repeating it again. So we've got the turtle. The turtle, connect to Mother Earth, ask for her blessings, fertility and manifestation will follow. So this is just a really big call to slow down. Take a deep breath. Slow down. Go back into nature. Don't think about it. Don't sit there. Don't look at it. Don't watch it on YouTube. Actually, take your butt down to the park and sit inside nature, or walk. Walking is probably better because you're moving the energy and you're taking energy out of the mental realm down into the body and expelling. And you are walking with intention. You know, you're absorbing all the ions and the positive energies that are floating around for you. You know, there's something in that, it disperses the mental focus and the lockdown. I keep talking about lockdown because we get ourselves caught up in a pattern. Some of us are really, really flighty and, you know, end up just flitting about here, there and everywhere like a feather in the wind. Others are actually very stubborn and locked down into something, and it's got to be done this way, and you can't, you know, bend the rules, and because that's a sense of safety. One is freedom, one is safety. And you're just trying to harmonize the middle. And you do that by slowing down and releasing what's locked you in. You know, if think about the turtle. I have mentioned this in other readings, but think about the turtle. They aren't as efficient on land as they are in water. So think about the environment that you're in. Think about the environment that you're curating. Think about the values that that environment operates on, because if it's not in alignment with the truth of who you are, it won't feel good. You won't flourish as much. It will challenge you to grow and to choose yourself and choose correctly, not in a selfish way, in an alignment sort of perspective. You're looking to align and express, align and express. And it's, I'm seeing the spiral, so it's like in a spiral. It's within you, it's within your family, it's within your relationships, it's within your community, it's within your culture, it's within your country, it's within your nation, it's within the planet, you know, and it's, whether it's in the micro scale or the macro scale, it should still be the same. It should still express itself in a very similar energetic form. So think about, not just think, but feel. Think, feel, and act around the bigger picture, because we lose sight of it. Like I keep saying, we lose sight of it. You want to be able to be stable in truth no matter what happens in the situation. No matter what circumstance you find yourself in, your sense of power is in how you respond, and your sense of ability to respond correctly is whether you're in alignment to your values. Do you know what your values are? If you do not and you want help, please reach out to me and I will give you a link to a reputable source that gets you to discover what it is that your values are. Just providing a affirmation for you. This is so that you mentally tune into the energy, but feel into the energy of what that is actually saying behind it all. Does that make sense? I don't really want to fill your head with more clutter. What I want you to do is actually remove stuff. This is why it's important to get back to your values, because they have a feeling. There's an energy in that. There's a feeling behind the words that you're using to help your whole creative essence focus on that. And life is about choosing everything that matches that and getting rid of what doesn't. And so when I bring this forward to you, this affirmation, you are considering it and watching how you respond to it, and then you're putting it in application to your life. It is, my work is deeply fulfilling. Sorry about the glare. My work is deeply fulfilling. My expression is deeply fulfilling. Everything I do is deeply fulfilling. This reading here, this energy in the tarot, is really talking about how you're not. You're not feeling fulfilled. You're not feeling like work is going the way that you thought. You're not feeling like your efforts are appreciated. You're not feeling like things are working in your favour. but so is everybody else around you. They're just doing it in a different way. And so what you're trying to resolve here is where you're at today and moving into a state of fulfillment. And again, it's coming to unpacking everything that is not in alignment to your value set and why you do what you do. Think of it like a suitcase. Think of it like you've packed your bag and you're going to the destination of what this work is about, or what it is that you're trying to create, or what, you know, the family or the relationship, whatever it is for you at this time. You've packed your bag and you're bringing your past with you. You've packed a few things from your past, you've packed a few things from now, and you've packed a few things that you think represent your future. Then you start walking the terrain and you're like, crap man, I bought the wrong bag. You know, I bought a suitcase when I was actually climbing a mountain, and a backpack would have done better. You know, but you make do and you adapt and you change it. Then you're like, oh, look, listen, it'd be much faster if I actually just threw away some things. What do you choose? Are you going to choose your future stuff and throw that away? Or are you going to choose your past stuff and throw that away? Or are you just going to manage it and lug it all the way to the top of the mountain? It's essentially a continual, simultaneous letting go while moving forward. Unpacking what isn't appropriate. And, you know, the journey from the bottom of the mountain to the top of the mountain isn't always easy. And you start to make decisions based on how you feel in that exact moment. You know, if you've been carrying 20 kilos of your past up the hill and then you're only like quarter of the way and you've got another 3 days of trekking, you start to make a decision based on that particular moment. You know, you start to think about, oh mate, I've got another 3 days of this shit and I've got 20 kilos of my past. What am I doing? You know, what are the options? Oh, can't let go of my past, so I'm just going to go back down the mountain. Or I might let go of a little bit of the past and make it lighter for me. Or I might just dump the whole bag and forget about it. You know what I mean? There's so many different options to each scenario. There's so many different variables. There's so many different motivations. There's so many different wounds and stories and all the things. And really the key of the whole matter is it fulfilling? Am I living out my values in this moment, when I started the journey, when I'm in the middle of the journey, and when I'm at the top of the mountain, at the end of the journey? A sense of fulfillment. Fulfillment comes from you having core values and those values being met. It says on the back, today I give my best to that which I do, knowing that when one experience is complete, I am led to even more fulfilling and rewarding experiences. So on the back here, this is actually talking about completion, closing the loop. You know, this is a closed loop. This is an open loop. So you have a think about what you can close up and put to bed, like bury it, it's gone, it's dead, it's done. And then you're looking at also, where can I open up the loop? Where am I so rigid that I'm not actually making progress with anything? You know, because regardless of whatever happens, we can't always control the environment and what happens inside the environment, only how we respond to it. So you have to be so sure and certain in yourself that it doesn't matter what happens. Yes, look, some things, we're human, you know, if a loved one passed away, yes, we can be knocked over, you know, but you can, resilience kept coming, but, you know, there's grief in that, and it's okay to take that little sidestep, to allow yourself to process that there's a change in the way that you're going to move forward without that loved one in your life. You know, that's the essence of being human, is to love and be loved. And regardless of whether that physical being is with you or not, the love was still there. And you were the one that generated the love from the inside out. And same with them. Okay? I've covered a lot of places with this. I trust that the message will land with your spirit and your heart, and that you will open up to the truth of who you are by clearing out the barriers so that the answer that you're actually looking for bubbles up from within. I am sending you a lot of love. Do reach out if you need support. And if you have any comments, please share. Other than that, I shall sign off for now, go get myself coffee, and catch you in the next reading. Bye for now.